Okay, we're up to Samich Amid Beis. We're up to Samich Amid Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. We left off discussing different foods that a woman should eat or shouldn't eat when she's nursing. So along those lines, other advice about midas derech eretz. The mishamshe beirachia, a woman who has tashmish by a rechaya, by a mill, havle b'nei nichbi, you have children who suffer from epilepsy. The mishamshe al arev have tashmish on the ground, havle b'nei shamute, you have children with long necks. The dorcha al ramya the chamra, a woman who walks on the feces of a donkey, havle b'nei girdani, they have children who lose their hair. The achlu chardla, a woman when she's pregnant, who eats mustard, havle b'nei zel zatvani, the woman, children who like to eat a lot. The achlu tachli, women who eat cress, havle b'nei dulfani, children who have their eyes tear a lot. The achlu munine, women who goes eat small fish, havle b'nei mitzitze eina, children who have eyes that flutter up and down, that they go ahead, they blink a lot. The achla gegushta, a woman who eats clay, havle b'nei mukore, have ugly children. The shasya shikra, she drinks beer, havle b'nei yuchamesh, have dark children. The achla bisra b'shasa chamra, a woman who eats meat and drinks wine, havle b'nei beria, an aleph, they'll have children that are healthy. Right. The achla bay, woman who eat eggs, havle b'nei anani, children who have large eyes. The achla kabed eats fish, havle b'nei chinani, have children who have chen. The achla karpasa, a woman who eats celery, havle b'nei zibsani, children who have a glow to them. The achla kusparta, a woman who eats coriander, havle b'nei bisrane, they'll have children that are zaftig. The achla esroiga, a woman who eats an esrig, again, all of these women, she's pregnant, havle b'nei rechani, children who have a good smell to them. And Barte the Shava Malka, the mother of the Barte the Shava Malka, Ochla Bas Ima Esroiga, the mother of Shava Malka that ate an esrig and gave birth to a daughter. She would bring this daughter in front of the father, Shava Malka Beresh Rechani, the head of the smell. I guess she smelled very good. Okay, we spoke about a woman has to nurse the child, right? So now to qualify that a little more. Rav Huna, Bodeklon Rav Huna Bar Chinana. Rav Huna was checking out his Rav Huna Bar Chinana. He Aimeris Lahanik. She wants to nurse. Who Aimeris Shaloi Lahanik? He doesn't want to nurse because I guess it affects her looks. So he doesn't want to nurse. But nonetheless, Shaimin Lai, but listen to her because Tsara Didehu. It's hot tsar, either the tsar of the milk in the dad, or the tsar of not having the child next to her. Hu I'm a lahanik, he wants it to nurse. Bi omer shaloi lahanik, and she doesn't. Mahu, what's the din? Now kol heicha delav urcha. Anytime, let's say she comes from a family that's wealthy, and they used to hire people to nurse. Shaimim la, if she doesn't want to, you keep her on that status. Right, he urcha. She comes from a family that does nurse. Who lav urcha, and he comes to a family that doesn't. And now he wants it to. My basid di deyas linon, but his family doesn't. I basid di das linon, and her family does. Upashtina lemeha oile imai. She is elevated to his status. Beini yeredis imai, but does not yared with him. So if she comes from a lower family, and he comes from a more prestigious family, she goes up. And in this case, since his family doesn't nurse, she wouldn't have to. However, if she comes from a more prestigious family and goes down, and they and guess she did nurse and they did nurse, then she would not have to. So either way, over here, she doesn't have to nurse. Amravuna Micro, what's the pasuk that she gets elevated? It says Vihilas Bulas Baal, the Lashon. It could have said she's an Eshes Shish in Bereshis, where Avimelech, HaKadosh Baruch Hu comes to Avimelech in a dream and says to return Sarah to Abraham, because she's a Bulas Baal. It doesn't say the lashon of a wife. It says Bulas Baal, Baal Yasa Shel Baal, so that you ascend the lashon, the status of the husband, but not the degradation going down. It says by Chava Kihi Hoisa Ein Kol Chai. That's why you call it Chava. L'chaim nitna v'loy l'tzar nitna. She was given for life and not tsar, and therefore it's going to be tsar for her to nurse. then you don't go down to that status. So the Mishnah had said that there are 7 things that a woman has to do for her husband. She has to grind, she has to bake, she has to do laundry, she has to cook, she has to go ahead and nurse, she has to make his bed, and she has to do wool. And progressively, that's if she has no shifchas. But if she has shifchas, then if she has one shifcha, we do away with the first 3. We do away with the grinding, the baking, and the laundry. Says the Gemara, shifcha, you minus the first 3, the grinding, the bakery, and the laundry. Hasha'ara, but all the rest, the other 4, cooking, nursing, making the bed, and doing wool, that she would have to do. The Gemara, why does she say to him, Ayalis lach isisa? I brought in someone into the house, right, in my stead. So I shouldn't have to do anything. I have someone to take my place. Because he can tell her, you're matriach for me and for her. In front of you, who's going to be tareach? In other words, when we were just the 2 of us, right, it was only 2, but now it's 3. So you can't go ahead and expect one person to do for 3 people. One person to do for 2 is doable. One person to do all 3 for 3 people is not. Shtayim, if he has 2 shifchas, then einem vashelas einem menika. So again, you not only deduct the first 3, grinding and baking and laundry, you'd also deduct cooking and nursing, and nursing, and so hashara. But the latter 2, making the bed. Now, making the bed over here is taking care of the karam b'kistais. I mean, smashma, you have to schlep. It's not just putting a sheet on. It's more schlepping. Making the bed over here is more physical, as we'll see in the Gemara Vaita. And working the wool, she would still have to do. So with 2, you've deducted 5. The first one, you deducted 3. 2, you deducted 5. But the latter 2, the making of the bed and working the wool, would still be intact. The Gemara, I bought in a 3rd one, a 2nd one, the tarchel the deal the matriach for me and for her, the chadal the from one for you and for her. So the chayra, why have to do anything? In front of the archim that come for a longer period of time, a week or a month, and the people who come and go, man tarach, who's going to be tarech. In other words, it seems to be it was an open house. And therefore, since people would come into the house, even though you have 2 shifchos, still you need them available. And therefore, the woman would still have to go ahead and deal with the bedding and making the wool. However, shalosh, then eina metzas amita. Shalosh is not metzas amita for wool, right? In other words, you don't have to do anything. If you have 3, you don't have to do anything. Pashtus, any of the 7. You don't have to do any of the 7. Hasha'ara, Rashi says, but small things of that you would have to do. In other words, 2 takes care of 3, 1 takes care of 3, 2 takes care of 5, 3 takes care of all 7. But nonetheless, the woman can't go ahead and lounge yet. She'd have to do small things. But Tamalei, let us say to him, I brought in a 3rd one, in other words, there's no reason that I should have to do anything. Nafish b'nei besa, nafish uchi parchi. More people in the house, more guests. If that's the case, even when she has 4 shvachos, why can she go ahead and sit in the lounge chair? You could always say more people in the house, there's more things to do. It says, since you have 4, they help each other. When it says bringing in, it doesn't mean mamash you have to bring in, but it means the financial ability to bring in. You're ready to bring in, even if you didn't bring them in, right? Tana, we learned whether she brings into him, or whether she saved money for him. Look at Taisus. Taisus says, 2nd Taisus, Pirish, he was mitzamsem, he was hoarding some money, but he's chayav to give to her. And why did he do this? And he was able to go ahead and pinch and save till he's able to full shvachos. So if you did that, even if you didn't buy them, she wouldn't be mechuyev to do these things. Rabbeinu Tam, that's what Rabbeinu Tam says. V'yesh garsam, others people say shemot saloi mishaloi, klaima shehu asher. He's wealthy. He's able to go ahead and afford many shvachos according to our needs. Okay. Okay, Avraham, be quiet. Mute yourself. Anyway, Arba Yosheves B'Kedatra. We said that four, when you have four, then she could sit, with the chashva woman's in the easy chair. Amar Yitzchak bar Chananya Amar Huna. Afa Pi Shomer Yosheves B'Kedatra. Even though she's parted from all seven, and not only she's parted from all seven, as we saw in the Gemara, she's even parted from the small things that woman does. Ava Moizeges like Kais. A woman, she dilutes the wine. Again, the wine was very strong. They used to dilute 3 parts water to 1 part wine. They would dilute it. And umatzes lo samita. And over here, matzes lo samita doesn't mean the physical. It's not the 7 matzah of the 7, right? In other words, it was matzah samita of the 7. That meant working with the pillows and the mattresses. This means just putting the blanket on. This is the easy one. That's why I knew it's 2 different ones, or else it makes no sense. Because she was parta from the 7. If this is one of them, then it makes no sense to Gemara. So obviously, it must be there's 2 types of matzah samita. One that's more heavier duty, which is included in those 7, which you get parta only if they have 3 vadim, 3 shvachais. And over here, if you have 4, nonetheless, she pours cups of wine for him. I mean, she is sakais, and she goes ahead and makes the bed. Umarchetz like pano yad of raglav, and she makes hot water to go ahead and wash his hands and his feet and his hands. Amar Chananya, Amarav, Huna, Kol Melecha Sheisha Isa Lebaila, Nida Isa Lebaila. Whatever a malacha, a woman does to her husband and neither can, but except the following. And these are all la'alacha l'maisa. These are things that a woman's not allowed to do. Chutz me'mizigas hakais. She's not allowed to go ahead and dilute the wine for him. Batzos hamita and making the bed. Barchatzos panav yav raglov. Batzos hamita amarav alei amorim. When it says she can't make the bed, it's ela b'fanav, only it's in front of him. That would be an act of chiba. Aval shalei b'fanav less lamban. There's not a problem. So continuing on those lines of reasoning, umazigas hakais, and she can go ahead and dilute the wine. Shmuel machlafah de v'sayu b'yada de smarla. She would go ahead and dilute it, and she put it with her left hand. Abaya monchalei apuma de kuba. Abaya's wife would put it on the top of a jug. Rava Abesadia will put it on the pillow. Rav Papa Asher Shifu will put it on the stool. Okay, so all these things are that harchakas. These are harchakas that in Dinei Nida, and they come from this Gemara. If you look at Tosfos for a second, briefly. Michal de Visaya Biyada de Smaila, the Machzavitri, Pirish Harav, Rav Shmaya, and Machzavitri is the Minhagim of Rashi. So in this Rashi, Afilu Shleilitain. Maftech biyada liyada. He would not even forget about a kois. He was makbid not to even pierce over what? Not pierce over a key. He was makbid not to even pierce over a key. Rashi brings that these are speaking in the Zion Nikiyim. But if you look at the end of Tosfos, about 7 lines up, Nira, the Hayregilon Litfol Achashiva L'Re'iyah, the Kishabekekes. They would go ahead, they would custom to go to the mikveh after 7 days, after she stopped seeing blood. To go during the day. In other words, we go after 7 days. They would go on the 7th day. We go after 7. There's no difference between the actual days of Nida and the days of seeing white. Okay, whatever. I don't know why I brought that in. says I guess because I have it underlined. Amr Yitzchak bar Chananya, Amr Avhuna, Hakol Mashin b'fnei Hashamis. In those days, they had a person like a waiter, a person would serve you. So when he's eating, when a person is, again, I guess they didn't eat as much as we did, and the guy's having a suda and he hasn't eaten yet, it might be a little difficult for him to work if he didn't eat yet. So you can delay feeding him, except if you're serving meat and wine. What are we speaking about? Fatty meat and aged wine. That's the type that if you're serving, that might be very difficult for him to go ahead and work with. And Rashi says it might even be like sakana for him to work in that case. So in these times of the year. Havshila the Ardre, he brought in front of me a capsule of mushrooms. He loved the Yovle, and he didn't give it to me. It's takina. I would have been in danger. Again, a bunch of foods that people seem to have craved very much. Amravashi, Avakim the Kamed Rav Kahana, the Isilay, Godly did lift it, they put some heads of a turnip, the challah in vinegar doesn't turn me on. The ilav the Yovle, they wouldn't give it to me, it's takani. I would have been in sakana. Rapapa Amra Filu Tamarta, the Hinonisa, even fatty dates. Klalu the Milsa, what's the rule? Called the Islay Recha, the Islay Kiyua, it has a smell and a pungent taste. Right? Any one of these, one would have to go ahead and give the shamish before he serves, because again, you find it very enticing, and it's not good to put a person in this state of mind. Bar Ihi umin Yomid Bar Ihi, two people. We have Avuhu Bar Ihi and Minyamin Bar Ihi. I guess they were brothers. Chad Safi Mikol Mina. One of them would give the shamis from each thing he was serving. The Chad Safi Michad Mina, right? And one only gave him one of the things that he was serving. Mar Mishtoy Lo Badei, Umar Lai Mishtoy Lo Badei. So these people were roy for what? For Gili Eliyahu. They were roy for Gili Eliyahu. And nonetheless, what? Nonetheless, only the one who it was Mekuyim the Gili was the one who was so benevolent and generous, giving his shamis everything. But the one who only gave him one, even though he was royal lekach, it didn't happen. Hanu Tarti Chasidim, two Chasidim, Rav Mori, Rav Pinchas, Bnei Rav Chisda. It was Rav Mori and Rav Pinchas, the son of Rav Chisda. Mark, the sons of Rav Chisda. Mark Chodim Safi, Umar Ma'acha Safi. The one who would give, one would go ahead and bring it earlier, and one would bring it later. The Chodim, the one who brought it earlier, Saf Eliyahu, Mishtar Badei. Eliyahu came and appeared to him, and the Ma'acha and the Safi, the one who delayed the feeding, Loi Mishtar Eliyahu Badei, did not come to him. So again, it's a chashivas of, I'm not sushtan. You're supposed to feed an animal before you eat. You're supposed to feed your animals before you eat. The human being can't be worse than that. And particularly if sometimes it's a very, very, even to our extent, where Baruch Hashem, most of us, our stomachs are full most of the time. None of us are in a state of putting ourselves in sakana. But you go to a wedding, you see a smorgasbord, you see a carving station. Some people find it difficult to go over to wish the chassan a mazel tov before they make their way to the carving station. Anyway, says that we understand such things. They were sitting Malka. They were sitting on the opening of the house of the name of Izga. That was his name, Izga Malka. Aturanga. A guy was carrying food to Malka. He was bringing food to the king. Chazi Ravashi saw the Mazutra. He saw Mazutra, the Chava Ape. He saw that his face got white. He saw his face got white from, again, this is suffering from this disease of Pashit that, again, he was Shokolet's Basay. So what did he do, Ravashi? He took his finger and Onachle Bipomei, and he put his finger in the food and he put it in Mazutra's mouth. So you see that it wasn't even you had to eat it. It was enough just to taste it to go ahead and assuage this taiva. What did he put? He put his finger when he put it in his mouth. He wasn't much feeding him. So Amalei, so that the Meltzer, the waiter, said to Ravashi, ask the Malka, I can't give the king this food now. How can I give him the food? You touched it. So Amalei, Amai Tov L'Hache. So the Rashi says the shaitrim, the police, they called the police on him. The shaitrim said, why do you do this? Amai Tov L'Hache. So Amalei Ravashi said to them, Man da Abid Hachi Pasul Michael the Malka. Whoever made this food, Mamish doesn't know what he's doing. Amalei Amai, why doesn't he know what he's doing? So Amalei said, Dava Acher Chazi. I saw a Dava Acher Bey. Rashi says he saw a pig that had saras. Dava Acher is a pig. In other words, that this is the diseased leprous pig in this. So Botkav Leashka, they looked at it and they didn't find anything. Shokles Batse Anachle. Rashi took the finger, the cook, he took his finger and he put it on exact spot. Amalahu Hachamik Batkisu, they check over here. So Botku, they checked and Ashton, they found exactly what Ravashi said, that the meat was full, that it was pig and it had saras, and it would have been dangerous for the king. So basically Ravashi was saying, I saved the king. So Amalei Rabbanim, Chum said Rav Ashi, and the only reason Rav Ashi did this is because of Mazutra being sick. So this Amalei Rabbanim said to Rav Ashi, my time is Samcha Ani, so why were you Samcha on a Nes? So Amalahu, he said, Chazi Ruach Tsaras the Kapor Chalavei. I took a look at Mazutra, and I saw a mamish on his face, I saw this Tsaras. So it's not, Benji, and you're supposed to be listening in the middle of share, Benji. What are you doing? I have to ask you. We're not so progressive over here. I don't want to look at the picture of the baby in the middle of share. Have your wife come again when
the baby's missing something.
Sorry.
The baby's something missing on.
Mazel tov, mazel tov. Okay, anyway, so Rav Ashi, he saw this Amazutra, he saw this again. Is sometimes this are very heebie-jeebie stuff. You look at something, it could affect you. It could be it's stuff like that. So again, he saved Mazutra. There was this Roman. The Amalei, he asked this woman, marry me. Amalei, she said, "Lo, I don't want to marry you." He began taking pomegranates. Poli, he peeled them. And was eating in front of her. And her mouth was watering, and as the mouth was watering, she swallowed it. And he didn't give her. He didn't give her, right? He didn't give her any of this pomegranate, right? Ad the zogla, until she became fat or bloated. So the Seif Amala, if I give it to you, will you go ahead and marry me? Amalei, she said, I'll marry you. Uz lice money. He went, he bought pomegranates. He opened them up and ate them in front of her. Amalei, he told her, when you get this, the maya, the saliva gathers in your mouth, tufshadi, spit it out. Ad enough, and she did. And ad enough, it mean a kihutsa yiraka, came out like a green leaf shot out of her, the itasoyas, and she got better. Okay, beyond my pay scale. We said that semer. We said that you make semer that she can do wool. That she can do for her husband, right? But semer in, but pishtin loy. Mamish but semer in, but not in pishtin. So Maslisan money. Who's the Tan of our Mishnah? It's Rabbi Yehuda. The Tanya, Rabbi Yehuda said, "Ein a koifa loy lamed lefnei aviv." You can't force your wife to serve your father, loy lamed lefnei benoi, or to serve your son, or to give straw before the animal. Rashi brings in front of the animal different types of animals that you chayshit v'znus. I will koifa litain tevel lefnei bekorei because by bako you're not chayish v'znus. Rabbi Yehuda Aimer after koifa lasses bepishnan. You can't make a work with pishtin, which is what we need, right? If they should pishtin masriach esaper, pishtin causes bad breath, and it goes ahead and it causes the lips to go ahead and blow up. In other words, when you're working with like pishtin, or you go ahead, you put it in your mouth, right? To go ahead working with it, you want to make it, get the fibers to go down, so you put it in your mouth. So pishtin has the capacity to give you bad breath and to swell up your mouth. So therefore, only with semer and not with pishtin. Fascinating. V'hani mili b'kisna rumoya. And what is Rabbi Yehuda speaking about? Only certain types of flax, Roman flax. Okay. So we had two shitas in the Mishnah. Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said, Rabbi Eliezer, if your wife, you have 100 servants, your wife better do something, because if you have so many servants, it's going to lead to his nus. And Rabbi Shimon Gamliel said it's going to lead it to go crazy. So the bottom line is they're both saying the same thing, that she has to do something. Right? She has to do something. So what does it say? Amar Rav Malkiyai, Amar Rav Ada Barava, Halacha Rabbi Eliezer, the halacha is like Rabbi Eliezer. Amar Rav Chanina, Reid Rav Ika, Shvud Shvachos V'Gumois, Rabbi Malkiyai, Lurius Efa Maklo V'Gavina, Rav Malkiyah, Rav Papa Amar Masnisan Umasnitan. It's a Mishnah and a Gemara and Masnisan Rav Malkiyah. If it's a Mishnah or a Brisa, it's Rav Malkiyah. Shmaitza, but if it's just a Gemara, it's Rav Malkiyah. Simonecha Masnisan Malchasa. Right. Masnisan Malchasa. Might be Nayu, it could be Nayu Shvachos. Okay, we have this Gemara often. I'll give you a chart. I have a very nice chart I found. Okay, you guys could see this? Yeah? So now, here's the dinim. Shvud is in Beitza. Once you go ahead, you're allowed to cook on Yontif. So you're roasting a spit on Yantif. After you take the meat off and it's all fatty and disgusting, is it muktzah? Shvachos is the din over here. Even have 100 shvachos. Gumos. Gumos is that if you see by a woman and she has 2 hairs, then she's a gedayla. What happens 2 holes? Then we say it's gumos. It's a simon. They were there and they fell out. Glorious is Allah about getting close to what within 3 tefachim of the goyim used to leave like the mango. They would leave the hair, and they would serve like an avodah zara. Okay, Efa makla is if you have a wound to put on Efa, it looks like a tattoo. And Gavina is akam. They used to go ahead and they would put lard on top of it. Good. Those are the different dinim. Now, shvud is a gemara. Shvachos, as we saw, is a mishnah. That's a mishnah. Gumois is a gemara. Glorious is a brisa. Efa makla is a gemara, and Gavina is a mishnah. So we have a chilik between Reb Chanina and Reb Papa. Lo Reb Chanina, Breid Ravika. Shmaitza is Rav Malkioi. He said shvud, shvachos, and gumois is Malkioi. Glorious, Efa makla, and Gavina is Rav Malkiah. That was the easiest, right? We just did the first bit. First 3 are Malkioi, the last 3 are Rav Malkiah. And there's nothing to do whether it's a Mishnah or a Gemara. Rav Papa says no. Rav Papa says if it's a Gemara, it's Rav Malkiah. If it's a Mishnah, it's Rav Malkiah. Right, so watch. Shvud is a Shmaitz is Rav Malkiah. Shmaitz is Rav Malkiah. Shmaitza is Machloikis. Okay, and Mishnah is Rav Malkiah. So you have the Mishnah is Rav Malkiah, the Brisa Malkiah, and Mishnah is Malkiah. So the nafkamina between the 2, Rav Chanina and Rav Papa, is Rav Malkiah and this one. Everyone else is the same. The nafkamina would be what? This one. Case of it's a very nice chart. And the difference would be over here. He holds Rav Malkiah and he holds Rav Malkiah. And the simon to remember, right? The simon to remember, as the Gemara says, is that what is Masnisa Malkasa. Malkiah is the Mishnah. The Malkiah is like a Melech, and that will be the simon how to remember this. Okay, so it's a nice piece. But we should know, guys, there's a wonderful. The first, everyone uses all Daf. There's a wonderful tool called Daf Yomi Advanced Forum. It's a Talmud of Gusman, Mamish Adam Gadol. His name is Rav Mordechai Kornfeld. And if you remember, I gave that last year. I gave this out to you guys, right? He puts this out, and it's a wonderful site. This chart, his Hebrew charts are wonderful. I got this chart from this site. So anytime if you're learning and you want to organize things, he has charts there that are really wonderful. Okay, that's all right. It's good. It's a good. Okay, we're up to a Mishnah. Now we were discussing, right? Oh no, we're not up to the Mishnah yet. I'm sorry. So we had enough Gemina. Both Rebbe Loza and Rebbe Shimon Gamliel said that a woman has to work. One, Rebbe Loza says because you're worried about too much time, you worry about snus, and Rebbe Shimon Gamliel said you worry about it going crazy. So it says in my kind of comments, Rebbe Eliezer, Kibinayu, in the Tolta the Geraisa, Katinasa, she plays with little puppies. Then the Drasha plays chess. So I guess nafkamina that you won't go crazy, but as snus you'd have to worry. But as going crazy, you're involving yourself, then you would not have to worry about going crazy. Okay, we said the last Mishnah was a person that the woman was mad herself from doing malacha. Whether she has to work for you, not work for you. So here's this: a man is not allowed to say that his wife can't have enough that his wife can't have enough from his wife. He's mishubed in oina, so he has to please his wife. But he could go. It's chal if he says on him, I won't have enough from my wife. That he could say. His wife having enough from him, he can't say. Him not having enough for his wife, that he could say. So let's say he does that. Beishamai says, so you have 2 weeks to get yourself out. After 2 weeks, you don't get yourself out, you have to get divorced and you have to give her a get. You have to give her a ksuba. Shabbos even 1 week. Shabbos achas. Hatamidim yoitzim l'talmud Torah, shalei b'shush to learn Torah, even though there's a ayna of being with your wife, Talmud Chacham once a week, you're able to go ahead and leave for 30 days to learn Torah. Hapoyalim, workers, Shabbos achas 1 week. Ha'ayna umer b'Torah, hatayalim b'chol yoyim. Hayalim will see it every day. Hayalim workers shtayim b'Shabbos twice a week. Hachamorim, guys who go away, donkey drivers who don't go on such long trips, achas b'Shabbos once a week. Hagamalim, people who go ahead and they take longer journeys and because they deal with camels, achat shlesh once every 30 days. Hasfina, people, sailors, achat l'shish kodashim once every 6 months. The Rabbi Eliezer, these are the words of Rabbi Eliezer. Okay, my time in the Beis Shammai, what does Beis Shammai say? 2 weeks. So Gami mi yoledes in the keva. Now we know in Parshas Tazria, we know that a woman goes ahead and she gives birth. The first blood she sees for 14 days is dam tamei. After 14 days, it's dam tahira. So we see that the maximum amount you can be separated from your wife is 2 weeks. Okay. Well, Beis Gami mi yoledes zachar, and Beis learns from yoledes zachar, which is 7 days. Remember, females are 1466 and males are 733. With 66 days are dam tahar, by the male 33 days. Well, Beis nami digru mi yoledes nekeva, right? Why do you learn from yoledes nekeva? Why do you limit it to 7? Why do you learn Beis Shammai 14? It says, Mari imi yoledes gemimila hachanami. If you learn from yoledes, you'd be right. Ela Beis Hillel mi nida. And he doesn't learn from yoledes with changing gears. He learns from nida. Nida raisa, nida is 7 days. Once she gets cleaned after 7 days, the man can live with her. So therefore, Beis Shammai Taka learns from a yoledes nekeva. Beis Hillel learns from a nida 7 days. Mi nida gamila. My kanifli, what's the source of machlokes? Why does Beis Shammai opt to learn from a yoledes? Why does Beis Hillel opt to learn from a nida? Masavar midi d'shchichi, right? It's shaykh that a person would get angry at his wife and make a neder not to live with her. Midi d'shchicha from nida. So Beis Hillel would learn out from there. They're both shchicha. For a man to get angry at his wife is shchiach, and for a woman to be a nida is shchiach. So therefore, it makes more sense to learn out something that's common for 7 days. Umasav and Beis Shammai midi duhu gorim. We learn out something that he caused, right? The neder. He's the one who made the neder. Midi duhu gorim lo, because he impregnated her and he caused the what? The leda. He caused her to be pregnant. So that's Beis Shammai says let's learn after 14 days. Amarav machlokes mimufarish. Machlokes is when he said openly 14. Avol b'stam. If they just say stam, doesn't say anything. In other words, he doesn't give it a date. He just says, I'm not going to live with, I can't have enough of my wife. Divrei hakol yoitzel alta. You get, you right away you leave. You think Kesuvos. So the machlokes is the mefarish. When he says he's mefarish amount of time, I guess he explains that. Why do mefarish mean it? What exactly? How much is he saying? In other words, my problem is, if according to Beis Hillel, if it would say 14 days, that doesn't make any sense. What's even mefarish over here? I guess he says, I don't know, maybe he says the oina, specific oina, the usual time that I have to visit you. I'm not sure. I'm not exactly sure. If he says it openly, so why would Beis Hillel argue, guys, and say, if he said 2 weeks, it's 2 weeks. Why would he argue? If he says 1 week, why would he argue? So I'm not sure exactly what it means. Okay, I have to look it over. I thought, okay, I'll get back to you on that. Okay, anyway, but of stam, if you say stam, there's no machlokes. Rav says you'd have to get divorced right away. Ushmul Amar, afilu b'stam nami yamtim. Even stam, that would make sense. 2 weeks and Beis Hillel 1 week. Shema yimtza pesach l'nidroi. Perhaps he'll find a pesach to his neder. So in other words, they'll find a reason to have charat on the neder and take off the neder. So even b'stam. So we have machlokes. Light Rav, the whole machlokes is when they specify a time. Then it's 2 weeks, 1 week. If they don't specify time, says Rav, they get divorced. Says Beis Shmuel, even when they don't specify a time, they still don't get divorced until 2 weeks or 1 week. Why? Because maybe you're going to find a zman. Machlok Beis Shammai Beis Hillel had this machlokes. So why do they have to have machlokes again? They already had this machlokes. Why do they have to have machlokes again? Ditnan, we have a Mishnah. Hamaner esishtoi A person is mad that his wife can have enough from him. At shleishim yom until 30 days. Yamoi parnes. Up until 30 days, you get a parnes, a person to take care of her. Yois mikan more than 30 days. Yois be think suba. Where he says for a certain period of time. If he says stam, yoitzel alta be think suba. So Rabbi is consistent, just like Tashmish, that he doesn't go ahead and explain yoitzel alta. Who are then by food, by having hana, then yoitzel alta. You think suba. Shmuel Amar, I feel b'stam nami. Yamtim, you wait, shemayim for 30 days, shemayim's Pesach and Midjoy. So why do you have to have the same machlokes? Says Mar Tzricha. Diet ma bahar, if you tell me bahar over here by Tashmish, bahar kamarav. Mishum lo yefsha, like the harness, because you can't do it through somebody else, a third party. It has to be yourself. Avol bahi, but when it comes to I can't feed her, but the efsha b'parnes, but someone else could feed her. Ema moidli the shmuel that you wait 30 days to find a heter. Via mabehi, if you say over here by food, bahak kama shmuel, because you have what a parnes, in order to have a way out. Amal bahab by tashmish ema moidli l'rav, because there's no other way out. So tzricha, they tell me in both cases, in both venues, they would argue. Shmuel would say even over there that you wait 30 days to find. Perhaps you're going to find by 7. You wait 2 weeks. And 1 week couldn't be Hillel. Maybe you could find a way out. Okay, everyone have a very good Labor Day. Mazel tov to Shlomo Steinberg on his bar mitzvah, and we'll see you there tonight.